for 1 year, and now they have to prove it. Now they proved it already with their careers, but now you got to go prove it again. And you'd imagine there'd be laser focus to do just that, to get that monster payday. And like, this is weird to say, but in a way, not the worst thing possible, but it didn't help Snell being that good getting a contract, right? It didn't help him. Like, because now in his mind, this is what he is. So my money
Right.
should be in line with that. Guys, I've done it twice. It wasn't a fluke. I did it again this year. And look at the division that we were in. And I was going against that Dodgers lineup. Look at what I did, against them and all these other heavy hitters. And so, but the smart organizations are like, look, dude, no, I'm not paying for your past performance. It's about what you're going to do moving forward. And we don't think you're going to get a third Cy Young. And that's very fair to say. I don't think that's really knocking him.
Nah, he's not Max Scherzer when he was in his prime, right? I mean, maybe I'm just biased because of all the slander on this show, especially coming from Jake, but it is hard to believe that Blake Snell will be able to follow that up.
No, it's
impossible.
Let's be honest. It's like almost.
Is it impossible? It's impossible to replicate last year's results. Like, I can get on board with that theory, right?
Yes.
But does that mean it's not likely that he can produce something close to that?
I think what we're seeing right now is teams are just smart enough to know there are a lot of flaws with these pitchers. Jordan Montgomery was a guy 2 years ago. The Yankees didn't even want him on their postseason roster. They didn't think he was good enough to do that. He had a nice season with Texas. I think he's a really good back-end pitcher. I think what the ask right now is that he wants front-end money. He's not going to get that. I would not give him that. Blake Snell, same thing. This guy came off a Cy Young award. We saw Robbie Ray do the same thing, and then he got hurt, so it's kind of hard to say that, it was that there was something wrong with him, right? But I do think, like, if you look at Robbie Ray's career, he had a lot of flaws. He had not, unless he was striking out guys over 30%, he was giving up a lot of home runs, giving up a lot of hits, walking a lot of guys. Snell, the same thing. There's a lot of inconsistency up until last year with Blake Snell. So it would give me pause to pay a lot of money for those guys and commit to many years. The Yankees offered 1 year, $30 million. I think that would be a terrible destination for Blake Snell to give up 25 home runs in the AL East, Yankee Stadium, Camden Yards. That would be a nightmare. And then the fans and the media would crucify him. But we don't have to talk about that because he's not on the Yankees yet. And Matt Chapman as well. Matt Chapman is just, a Javi Baez with a better glove. So, I mean, I don't know why any of these teams would commit all this money to these guys that are clearly just on the island of misfit toys. They all have huge flaws, and they're just not really worth all this money. And I would also say the Los Angeles Angels in years past, you know what they would have done? They would have signed all three of these guys because they would have been like, oh, spend. Who cares who it is? Anthony Rendon, Josh Hamilton, whoever it is. Justin Upton, CJ Wilson. But no, I think that a lot of GMs too are smart enough now. They've made enough mistakes.
Oh man, Kenny, we missed you. Good to have you back. Thank you so much for joining us. So we do want to know who is in your portfolio, whether it's divisions, World Series, awards. Where do you want to start?
So I want to start with my man, Royce Lewis. I think he's going to win the American League MVP this year. I want to say he's going to do it because if he finishes top 3, I'll look really smart. And I think he will. If you look at the last time that he played on the field during the regular season, he ended up having 15 home runs last year. He had an incredible postseason. This guy's an absolute superstar. But in the time he came back from his midseason hamstring injury to the end of the season, he was one of the top 6 hitters in the American League in WRC+. He had an insane season, and nothing about that was a fluke. This guy just has been able to hit his whole life. And it's actually very funny that it seems like after his first of 2 ACL injuries, his career just took off. And I think the guy's had a lot of bad luck. The second one obviously came running into a wall, making an amazing play. And the Twins have him at third base now. They're trying to mitigate the risk. Obviously, it's an injury risk, right? I mean, that's the only reason why this guy isn't one of the favorites. But we've seen the line come down on him all spring. And I also would say that, for all of the injuries that this guy's had, they've never, ever detracted from his ability. He's come back every single time, hamstring, oblique, whatever it is, 2 ACL injuries. and he's been great. So I think as long as he plays like 130 games here, which is a huge ask, I know, the Twins have a good lineup around him. And you also look at the other guys at the top, the favorites, like Corey Seager, absolutely should be one of the favorites. I think that's a guy that if he plays the same amount of games, could end up beating him out. But I mean, I look at Aaron Judge, I look at Yordan Alvarez. Those are guys that missed a lot of time last year. Julio Rodriguez is a big favorite of bettors. He took a big step backwards last year. And he has the talent to take a step forward. But again, he's hitting in a bad lineup. He's one of like 3 hitters in the Seattle Mariners lineup. So I think Royce Lewis is just as good a bet as anybody on this list. And then also American League Rookie of the Year, Dominic Fletcher, Caesars had him plus 20,000, but they have still him in the National League. I have to tell them about that. But I think wherever you can get a number above 50 to 1 or better, I think is good, because I think he's going to hit 300. He's 26. He's the oldest Rookie of the Year candidate right now. And a lot of these guys, they just could have slow starts to their career. And I don't think Gunnar Henderson is like going to win MVP this year. So that's another guy I forgot to mention in the Royce Lewis discussion. But yeah, I think those are 2 good value plays there in the awards markets. Justin Steele for National League Cy Young as well, I like. And then there are a few teams I'm in favor of as well.
I've watched, I think all of these quarterbacks have some questions, but specifically, it seems like people are on 2 different ends of the spectrum with Caleb Williams. You hear that he's a generational talent, the best quarterback since Andrew Luck. And it's you can see it with some of the off-schedule plays that he makes and some of the things that he does. How often he goes to his second and third process in read, is where things kind of come into play. I think when you look at his film, and I was watching some of the breakdowns, just here recently, when he knows where he's going with the ball early, it's as clean and as accurate as you can get. Whenever he has to go ahead and make reads, it tends to come in with the scramble, some of the hero ball, and you just have to wonder how he's going to be able to be reeled in by offensive coordinator and be able to play within a system.
Following up on that, how far apart do you think Caleb Williams and Drake May are? Because I feel like every day I keep hearing more and more positive things about Drake May.
I think in the eyes of scouts, I think there's a gap. I do. I think you're going to have some teams that really value the off schedule and kind of reaching and hoping to get that next Patrick Mahomes. And I think when you look at Drake May, the way he throws the ball, he throws it effortlessly. Like, it doesn't look like he has to put a lot into it. I think as far as when you compare him to Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams, I think he throws to covered receivers better. I think he's a little bit more accurate, and I think he's going to be able to go ahead and process things a little bit better and play within a system. And I strongly feel that he's going to end up in Washington. I think, you start looking at Cliff Kingsbury and the connections with Caleb Williams, and it takes 2 to tango as far as getting a deal done. I just don't see Chicago doing it. I think they're going to go ahead and reset that quarterback salary situation and get some stuff back for Fields and kind of build around Caleb Williams. But when you start looking at Washington, you have Cliff Kingsbury, who has a big connection and relationship with Phil Longo, who's now at Wisconsin, that coach Drake May at North Carolina. And I think the connection there and the system that they both coached and had Drake May play in, I think that's going to be strongly there. And I think that's going to be the pick there at number 2.